New South Wales is continuing to report those large numbers of cases, but the Premier is saying we're getting near the peak. Do you think she's right? And what does that modelling that we saw yesterday tell you about what the health system is facing?
Well, it doesn't matter what I think. The modelling from the Sydney University suggested last week that the peak would be towards the end of September. The Burnett Institute modelling, which I think the Premier was quoting, suggested in the next week or two, which is roughly the same sort of time. And then the problem with hospitalisation now, as most people would know, is that when you're diagnosed, there's a lag. You know, the first week you're okay, and then you tend to get sick the second week. So there is a lag from diagnosis to actually ending up in hospital, and then a lag further to ICU, and hopefully not dying. And that's going to happen in October. Depending on the modelling, somewhere between mid-October to, some versions of the model have it towards the end of October. And you see it flowing through, and there's no question it's going to stress the system because you've got thousands of cases a day, and they're planning for it.
And the big question is, Norman, I guess, is yes, there are plans, but can the system cope if there is such a big increase, in fact, bigger than the modelling suggests?
Well, the wild card here is whether infection gets into hospitals and spreads to staff. And as Melburnians know, you can have large numbers of people furloughed. You have had that you have had a little bit of that in New South Wales. But if you got a Royal Melbourne Hospital situation with hundreds of staff furloughed, you really could be struggling to achieve that. So that's the problem, that you've got to actually protect staff to be able to protect the system. And whether the guidelines in New South Wales still do not adequately compensate for ventilation issues, and that will be a huge stress on the system.
Hey, this decision in the UK raising concern about the 12 to 15-year-olds being vaccinated. What do you make of it?
I'm not sure what to make of it. Britain used to be the light on the hill for public health, and over the last 18 months has not been, and made some very odd decisions here. They say that they've made the decision on risk versus benefit, that the benefit does not outweigh it for children over 12 who haven't got other comorbidities. A lot of other countries in the world disagree with that and have gone ahead, and we've gone ahead with that as well. I mean, it's clear that if you look at a whole series of benefits for 12 to 15-year-olds, you get back to school, you get to circulate, you cocoon younger children in the house. If the parents and the adolescents are immunised, then kids in the house are relatively protected because they're a bit cocooned by it. And they're protected against, even though it is a bit rarer, ending up in hospital.
Okay, and it also goes to achieving, or at least trying to achieve, difficult though it is in the age of Delta, herd immunity, Norman. The more of us that are vaccinated, that becomes more achievable down the track.
Yes, and in fact, that's what's bending the curve, is a little bit of herd immunity in New South Wales already.
Hey, now we do know the vaccine rollout has had its fair share of issues, but we're now getting to the stage for some people who are at the front of the queue of possibly getting booster doses. How is that likely to roll out?
Well, with all this, I can barely remember what happened last week, but we started in March and April immunising people, so frontline workers, hotel quarantine workers, aged care residents and so on, and they're coming up for the 6-month mark. And we haven't heard yet what the booster strategy is going to be for them, but there needs to be one because if you go by the data now, there is waning immunity, and you do not want vulnerable people being exposed. We have a duty of care to them not to get infected, but also they tend not to get sick. But we really do need a booster program here, which will put further strain on supply, but supply is not too bad over the next few months. And if we wait, maybe towards the end of the year, that may work out well.
Good stuff, Norman. Hey, speaking before you go, I saw you lovingly post that photo of a great-looking skateboard you got for Father's Day over the weekend. Any adverse health impacts from that yet?
It's going on the wall. It's not going on the floor.
Wise move, my friend. Wise move.
It came along. It was packed with beer around it, which those do not mix, beer and skateboarding. So I'll just leave it.
Every good doctor will tell you that. Thank you, Norman.
Thanks, doctor.
You're welcome.